Shalom lekulam, and welcome to this lesson. This lesson we're going to be talking about the Kabbalah restring. The title for this lesson is the psychology and demystification of the Kabbalah restring with some blue in it, because we're going to talk about the color blue, or techelet as it is known. If we look at today's let's say Hollywood actors and actresses, and we pay attention to some of them, the things that they wear, which a lot of people, that's what they pay attention, how the artists wear the clothing, all kind of stuff. They also will find that some of these artists have something in common, and what they're gonna have in common is that they are going to be using a restring, right? And like I said, this is some of the artists, not all of them, and also people that are not let's say famous as these actors and actresses from Hollywood. But you're gonna see this a lot out there, and some of these people are Jewish, some of these people are not Jewish. They are using this restring because it is said that this restring helps people in a way that protects them from the evil eye. And we're gonna see here, why these people believe in this, why some of us also wear this restring, even though it's for different reasons, and why we need to understand that this is just a tradition. It has nothing to do with Judaism. And even though it's practiced within Judaism, especially those of us who study Kabbalah, it doesn't really, it's not really something that should be the main focus when we are studying Kabbalah. It can become a distraction. It can become something that really doesn't help us spiritually if we don't have the proper intention when we are using these type of tools. Okay, so let's start with the zohar. In the zohar, what we see is that it says a person possessed of an evil eye carries with him the eye of the destroying negative force. Hence, it is called destroyer of the world. And people should be on their guard against them and not come near them, so that they should not be injured by them. So, as you notice, in this uh, warning, if you want to say, from the Zohar, what we have is a basically a kind of advice to stay away from these people. Stay away from people that are negative, the people that are bringing some kind of injury to you. And when we talk about the evil eyes, we're not talking here necessarily about people that envy you, people that are jealous, people that wish you, that wish that you don't, for you not to have, what you deserve and what you want in life. This is more people that are just negative, that they have these negative vibrations and then, and they will transmit that to you. It's like when these people are in this kind of vibration, you may become synchronized to these people in a way that it will hurt you, and you will see the results by not seeing realized in your life what you are basically wanting to achieve, the goals in your life. I'm talking about physical goals here, not only the spiritual goals, okay? Because when it comes to the spiritual, it is a given. These people will be like vampires of energy, and they will not help you advance in life. In fact, they might keep you, stuck. But is it the people that have the power over you, or is it us, the way we think? All right. So we're gonna see that the restring is there as a reminder for us to protect ourselves, To stay away means, not to talk to these people anymore or anything like that. It means to not to be in synchronization with their thoughts, in synchronization with the way they think about life. Okay, and we're gonna touch base on that because it has to do with psychology and also with spirituality. So you don't need the red string to be protected. Okay, so the red string is just a tradition, like I mentioned before. The red string preparation process belongs to what is called the Maaseh Kabbalah. Maaseh Kabbalah falls into what some people might say, or people translate as practical magic. Not the magic that is tricks and things like that, but real magic in which people believe that they can manipulate physical uh, by doing physical actions they can manipulate certain outcomes, so that's what it's called, that might fall or is part of the preparation, actually belong to the master Kabbalah. And we're going to talk about that preparation, why it is important. The most important work to perform is internal transformation from egoistic desires to altruistic desires, and this is basically how you protect yourself. Always thinking positive, always thinking that the work that you're doing, everything that you do in life, you're not doing it because you want to succeed. It's because you want to succeed in order to share that light that you're receiving, that success that you're receiving, you want to share it with others. Okay? The hair string is a tool that help our brain remember through a visual cue. Okay? And we're gonna see how's that done. In fact, that's the way I personally use the hair string. I don't believe that the red string has any power. The power is on the symbolism that it represents, right? And how that actually changed the way you think when you look at it. The only real remedy is Torah and authentic Kabbalah. So the only way you can protect yourself is by studying the Torah and studying Kabbalah. In that way, you know how the whole system works, and that way you know that something physical like a little string in reality doesn't have any power. The power comes from us, okay? Especially in this world in which everything is mind. It is if you study quantum physics, you understand about the observer and the observed, and this is basically what we're talking here in layman's words. The power is all in your mind, okay? The way you think will affect the outcome of your life. You create your own reality, basically. Not a little string, but the way you think when you look at the string. Now, like this guy is saying here, you just messed up my day and my brain, right? Because a lot of people think that the red string has a power in itself, right? And some people are like, but wait a minute, you don't believe that the red string has any power, but I have seen your videos, you wear it too, So, yes, I wear it. I have it right here, right? And I'm gonna explain, the way that I actually use the red string and the reason I wear the red string, and in that way you will understand that you can use the red string, but not necessarily thinking that it's a mystical, it has mystical powers or anything like that. Okay. All right. So let's start talking about the red string in depth. So this is the thing. To explain to you, how I use the red string. This is the thing. When I personally and other Kabbalists too, use the red string, we use it as a form of meditation and a reminder. And this is a meditation that is done basically like in less than a minute, a second, right? We're not talking here about meditations in which you have to be in silence and everything. This is something that you look at it and it will remind you of something. It's a visual meditation. It's called scene meditation. Scene meditation involves focusing the mind on a calming or inspiring image, scene, or object, in this case the red string, which can help reduce stress and increase perception and positivity. So when you look at the red string, what you're gonna be thinking is about positive things that you need to basically protect yourself from thinking evil thoughts, from lashon hara, with the evil thought, and doing actions, that are not in accordance to the laws of the universe, right? That will break basically the laws of the universe. It's also a visual aid. So using symbols such as the red string helps you remember actions. This is called mnemonic devices or memory aids, which can help people remember information by associating it with visual and verbal cues or patterns. Okay, so you will remember information. What information you're gonna remember, we're gonna talk about it as we go through this lesson. Because when you look at this red string, you're gonna remember a whole bunch of things that you did to put it on, and a whole bunch of things that it represents. And that's how you're gonna see that by doing that, you're gonna be doing a visual meditation, and also you're gonna be using this as a visual aid. But once again, and this is the part that most people don't like, is that the red string has no power in it. Wrapping around the red string around Rachel's burial site or praying over it, that kind of stuff, that's not what gives the power to the red string. It's your mind. It's what you think when you look at it, okay? All right. So things that we need to look at it, to look when we are talking about the red string. First is the name. The name of the red string in Hebrew is Hut Hashani. Hut Hashani. Remember that word, Shani, because Shani actually it's gonna come later in this lesson. Remember also the Hebrew word for evil eye, which is Ain Hara, because we're gonna talk about that as well and how this is related to a god in Egypt, which has an all-seeing eye as a symbol. Also, we're gonna be talking about the color red, and also a little bit about blue, how these two colors are related. And also we're going to be talking about the red string and how the brain works when we are looking at the red string. We're not going to go in details like if we were, here neuroscientists. We're just going to go into what the symbolism represents and how we're going to be thinking when we're looking at it, okay? So the first thing that we need to talk is the red string. When you get what is called or an original red string or things like that, they make the dye from a little bug, and specifically, this is an insect in which the female, when this female insect, or larva, has eggs, the eggs are red, and it's from these eggs that they make that red dye. You will not find red string that are made from this dye specifically, okay? And because the material is not gonna be the same as in the past, and the dye is not gonna be the same. It might be mostly synthetic, right? But there's people out there that make red strings, with this dye, and the name of the insect that they use is called kermes, which is like it says here. This is from Wikipedia. This is a genus of a scale in insect, and there you see a picture of how it looks like, right? And here you see how it looks once you open that insect, after the eggs are inside, and it's from those little eggs that they make the red dye, okay? So remember the word Shani, right? So we see this word appearing in Genesis 38, verse 27 and 28, where it says, when the time came for her to give birth, there were twins in her womb. While she was in labor, one of them put out a hand, and the midwife tied a crimson. Crimson is Shani. Shani basically it's a color red, but in this case crimson, right? Crimson thread on that hand to signify this one came out first. So this is talking about the situation or the part in the Torah in which Tamar was having twins, and one of them uh, put the hand outside first, and but the other one was born completely first, right? But the red thread actually marked the one that actually broke the womb first, and all that. And remember that word shani because it's gonna continue appearing. Also, we're gonna see, and there's a tradition that said that these two twins that came from Tamar are the ones that were the spies inside a city that Joshua was about to conquer. And he says, but the man warned
I'm
her.
sorry, I didn't
This
quite
is
catch that.
this is instead of city, city talk. It was I was talking to her, but in this is when these two spies were inside the city that Joshua was supposed to conquer. And this it says, but this man warned her, we will be released from this oath which you have made us to take, unless when we invade the country, you tie this length of crimson cord to the window through which you let us down. And very interesting, because the tradition says, that when they talk about this crimson cord, they said that it was the same crimson cord that was used, to mark the first born when Tamar was giving birth, which I personally find it kind of like interesting because something that goes around uh, a wrist or anything like that, it will not actually be as long as the one that we're talking here, right? So he said, bring your father, your mother, your brother, and all your family together in your house. And if anyone ventures outside the doors of your house, his blood will be on his head, and we shall be clear. But if a hand is laid on anyone who remains in the house with you, his blood shall be on our head. So this is, the first instance in which we're gonna see that the crimson color, the shani is used here for protection, to protect the family of this uh, lady that was helping the spies um, during the attack of the city, to protect her family so they were not attacked by the Israelites when they invaded the city. Now, this is the thing. Has a lot of similarities to the Exodus when we have the doorpost of the Hebrews marked with red blood from a lamb, right? So it crimson has something to do with blood, and we're gonna see that as well. Okay, but let's continue, to see other references of it in the Tanakh, and we're gonna find it in Samuel, Jeremiah, and Isaiah. In Samuel, second, it says, "Daughter of Israel, weep over Shaul, who clothed you in crimson and finery, who decked the robes with jewels and gold." So here the crimson is used basically to denote a social status, right? But then we go to Jeremiah and says, "And you are doomed to ruin. What do you accomplish by wearing crimson, by decking yourself in jewels of gold, by enlarging your eyes with kohl? You beautify yourself in vain. Lovers despise you, they seek your life." So in here it's telling you that this use of the crimson is kind of like in vain. It's all vanity. It's not gonna protect you from 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 basically being an egoistic creature for not doing the right thing, right? Then we see an Isaiah, which and we're gonna see also the crimson color there. "Come, let us reach an understanding," says the Lord. "Be your sins like crimson, they can turn snow white. But be they red as thy wool, they can become like fleece." So here we see that now the crimson in the beginning was a social status, then it was like vanity, and here it's telling you that it's related to sin, but they can be white as snow if you reach what is called, an understanding with the Creator. So these three passages telling us that in reality, it's the color that gives the symbolism to the thread. And then we're gonna see, that there's other things, like the number of knots and also the geometry of the thread that also completes this. But there are other places that we're gonna see in the this time in the Torah, which you're gonna see the sheni used as purification. This is for the priest. So you're gonna see also the priest is gonna have some of his robes with this color. The tabernacle is gonna have some of these robes as well, and also you're gonna see that this crimson, this sheni, and also the name of dye stuff. You're gonna see that is used to purify the priest before the Lord. Now, let's talk a little bit about the tradition. So when you buy a thread, a red thread, a Kabbalah thread, it is said by the people that sell this thread that it was wrapped around the burial site of Rachel, or actually the tomb of Rachel. And this is because the red string has also some symbolism when it comes to redemption. So, and that goes back to the verses that we were talking about, in which it says, even though our sins are like crimson, they can turn into as white as snow, right? So right now we're in exile, spiritual exile and physical exile. And the reason for that is because of our sin. So the thread that we're using is to remind us that we are in exile, that we're still in sin, that we need to protect ourselves from this evil inclination that is in us and in others. And also, Kabbalists use as reference Jeremiah in order to support the tradition of why this red thread is wrapped around Rachel's thumb. So it says, thus says the Lord, a cry is heard in Ramah, wailing, bitter weeping, Rachel weeping for her children. She refuses to be comforted for her children who are gone, those who are in exile, right? Thus says the Lord, restrain your voice from weeping, your eyes from shedding tears, for there is a reward for your labor, declares the Lord. They shall return from the enemy's hands. And when he says enemy's hands, when you really look, we are not in exile, at least some of us, and when I say us, I'm talking about the people of Israel. We're not in exile, meaning in among the nations, physical nations. Yes, we are. And some of these nations are friendly nations, yet within these nations we still feel, pressure by some members of these nations, right? Because anti-Semitism is something that is real. But the real enemy here is the ego, the Satan within ourselves, right? And as long as we are slaves of this earth, we're slaves of time, we're slaves of our work, we're slaves of of this physical realm, we are in the enemy's hand and we're still in exile. Once we start knowing more about the Creator, the Torah, and by learning Kabbalah and things like that, that's when we become free. We start doing our own personal exodus, okay? And the symbolism here in reality is not that wrapping around this thread around Rachel's burial site is gonna give some kind of power to the thread. It's the symbolism that gives the power. The action of doing this, the thinking, the intention of these people wrapping around the thread around the burial site of Rachel, it's what gives this power. Now, when you buy from them, or some of them given for free, you have to think about that they put that intention when they were doing that, and that that's how you complete the circle of that intention. Other than that, if you just buy it because you want to be protected from the evil eye without thinking about the intention of returning from the enemy's hand, then the threat is just just like some people wear it, just a fashion, the latest fashion. Everybody's wearing it. Why don't I, right? So think about that when you buy the thread, especially from these people that believe in this tradition of wrapping around the thread around the very side of Rachel. There's some of us that we don't practice that we might buy the thread, from them, or just buy our own or make our own, and it's the because of the intention behind, right? Like I mentioned before, I don't believe that the thread has any power. You can wrap it around on anybody's burial site. That will not give any power to the thread. It's what you think. It's your intention that matters. You may have a thread on you and think whatever you want. You may have no thread and no red string on you, and you be protected because you're thinking different, right? Your internal work is different. Now let's talk a little bit about the red string. And one thing that we need to understand is that the red string, and when we say, let's talk about the red string, we're talking about the red strings around the world, because the red string is not something that is unique to Kabbalah. We're going to see them around the world, different religious group, in different practices as well. So let's look at the anthropology. The practice of tying a red string around the wrist as a form of protection or good luck has its origin in several cultures and religions. In Kabbalah, a form of Jewish mysticism, the red string is believed to warn off the evil eye and provide protection and good fortune. According to this tradition, the string is usually worn on the left wrist and should be tied by someone who is believed to be in good character, such as a rabbi or a family member. In Hinduism, a red string or thread called kalava or mauli is tied around the wrist during certain religious ceremonies as a symbol of protection and blessing. The string is believed to be blessed by a priest or guru and is worn until it falls off on its own. Similarly, in Buddhism and other Eastern religions, the red string or cord are often used as symbols of protection, good luck, or as a reminder of one's spiritual path. The practice of tying a red string around the wrist has also gained popularity in modern culture and is often associated with celebrities and fashion trends. However, it's important to note that the meaning and significance of the red string can vary depending on the individual's beliefs and cultural background. So this is the reason I'm telling you, a lot of Kabbalists wear the red string according to the tradition of wrapping around the thread around Rachel's stomach, and some of us, don't practice that specifically. We practice it in a different way as a visual aid and a meditation. Now, here's some examples about the different threads around the world, specifically the Buddhist and the Hindu. As you can see, there's similarities to the red thread, especially in the color itself. The crimson color. You're gonna see also that there's a Romanian version of the red thread, and it has some blue and some yellow. We're gonna talk about that blue as well, and we're not gonna talk about the yellow because let's put it this way: the yellow has also some kind of symbolism, but we're not gonna talk about it because we don't wear a yellow string. We wear a red string or a blue string. We're gonna see how that works. So this is the Buddhist, the Hindu version, the Romanian version, the Jewish Kabbalah version, and then you're gonna see a lot of people wearing the modern version that you're gonna find in stores and all that, with a hamsa, with a good eye, right, to keep away the evil eye. And also you're gonna find some of them that use one of the 72 names of God in order to use it like a talisman. All right. Now, what is the evil eye? So the evil eye is a belief or superstition that certain people can cast a curse or harm through their gaze, usually unintentionally, and is found in many cultures around the world. It is often believed that this curse of harm can cause illness, bad luck, and other misfortunes. To warn off the effects of the evil eye, various amulets or talismans are used, such as the Hamsa, hand, and Nasar eye, which are believed to protect against the negative energy of the evil eye. But where this tradition comes from, right? To use this thing, we see it that these other religious groups, these other spiritual practices use the red string for the same reason, to protect from the evil eye. When it comes to Judaism, you can look at uh, some anthropologists that have written, some papers about it, about the roots of wearing the red string, and they believe it comes from Eastern Europe, specifically, like Poland and Romania and those areas. And but also you're gonna find that in the Middle East as well, especially the Hamsa and the eye that is added to these red string, the symbolism of the red string. So where does this eye, good eye, bad eye, right, comes from? So we need to look at one thing. How do we call the evil eye in Hebrew? We say that the evil eye in Hebrew is called Ain Hara, right? Hara. Ra means evil. When the Hebrew people were in Egypt, they were under the rule of Pharaoh, and Pharaoh believed that there were other gods, not a god, but there was a specific god that was called Ra. And you're gonna see in Egyptian mythology and also in Egyptian hieroglyphs this eye of Ra, and that it says, that it's an all-seeing eye. So when you look at the roots of it, it has to do with us coming from Egypt, right? And we call it Ain Hara, that translates to evil eye, because the belief in the evil eye is present in the Jewish culture and tradition, and there are various customs and rituals that are practiced to protect against its harmful effect. The concept of the evil eyes is mentioned in the Talmud, and we're gonna see where. But why we call it Ra, right? Why we call evil with the name Ra? Because the main god, or one of the main god in Egypt, the name was Ra, right? So it's Ain Hara, the eye of Ra. The eye of Ra in Egypt, for them, in Egyptian mythology, the eye of Ra was believed to be a powerful force that could protect the pharaoh and destroy their enemies. And it was also associated with the sun and was believed to be Ra's all-seeing eye, which watched over the world and could send forth its power to destroy evil. The Eye of Ra was often used in ancient Egyptian amulets and talismans, and its image can be found in many temples, tombs, and other monuments from ancient Egypt. But there's another eye that you're gonna see, like the one that you see in this picture here, and that is called the Eye of Horus, which is, you have a left eye and a right eye. So the Eye of Ra will be right, the Eye of Horus will be left. And the Eye of Horus was a powerful symbol of protection and good health, and was often used in ancient Egyptian amulets and talismans. So we see here a correlation, right, of why we see a Hamza with an eye, and why we talk about Ain Hara, the evil eye, and give it, that symbol of not only, the superstition of believing that people can influence our lives by just looking at it, but in reality, it's our mind, right? But it comes from these I would say, traditions of ancient Egypt or ancient cultures in the Middle East. Now, let's go to the Talmud. In the Talmud, we're gonna see that the evil eye is mentioned, and it gives us a little hint of what is a good eye as well. So let's go to Avot, chapter 2, verse 9. It says, He, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, said unto them, Go forth and observe which is the good way into which a man should cleave. Rabbi Eliezer said, A good eye. He further said unto them, Go forth and observe which is the evil way from which a man should remove himself far. Rabbi Eliezer said, an evil eye. Remember what the Zohar said in the beginning, right? Remove yourself from evil eye. All right. So here's almost saying the same thing, but in a different wording. Then about chapter 5, verse 19 says, whoever possesses these three things, he is of the disciples of Abraham, or father. And whoever possesses three other things, he is of the disciples of Bilam the wicked. The disciples of Abraham, or father, possesses a good eye, a humble spirit, and a lowly soul. The disciples of Bilam the wicked possess an evil eye, a haughty spirit, and over-ambitious soul. So this is the difference between a evil eye and a good eye, and here it is explained, right? It's not people kind of like being like the witches, throwing spells at you and things like that. This is just how they behave, how they think. If you are together with these people and you don't actually stay away or remove yourself far from their vibrations, their way of living, you will start synchronizing yourself to these people, and that's how the light that is supposed to go to your vessel, to your life, can stop. This shefa, this flow will stop and will decrease, in an instant. Let's put it that way. Then we see that in the Zohar, specifically in the Midrash Rabbah, say Joseph is a fruitful vine above the eye. This teaches that the evil eye has no power over them. Then he says in other places, Rabbi Yudah, son of Rabbi Hanina, derived it from this text, and let them multiply like fishes in the midst of the earth. Just as the fishes, Dagim, in the sea are covered by water, and the evil eye has no power over them, so the evil eye has no power over the seed of Joseph. Or if you prefer, I can say the evil eye has no power over the eye, which refused to feed itself on what did not belong to it. Okay, so this is basically saying the good eye is the kind of thinking in which you are basically receiving, you're not taking. When you start taking from life, taking the light and use it for egoistic activities, to feed your egoistic nature, that's the evil eye. But when you start using the light and you receive it, you don't take the light and use it for your egoistic purpose. Remember, not taking, receiving Kabbalah, right? And you start using it in order to transform yourself internally, your mindset will change. The shefa, which is the flow, will fill your vessel accordingly, and you will not feed your eye with that does not belong to you. You will be feeding your eye with that belongs to you, and you will be happy with your portion as well, because you know that portion is yours, right? Now let's go to the psychology. So believing that the red string will protect us from harm is considered a magical thinking, according to psychology, or superstition. These terms are often used to describe the belief that certain actions or objects have the power to influence or control events, even if there is no logical or scientific basis for such beliefs. While these beliefs may not be based in empirical evidence, they can have a powerful psychological effect in the individual and may play a role in shaping their behavior and attitudes. So psychology is telling here, hey, this is kind of like superstitious and all that, but this belief, can also shape the way you behave. It can make you behave better. It can change your attitude to a better. Same thing, with those symbols that can shape your mind, for worst. But in this case, the red string is shaping your behavior for something better, right? For something good. There's also this other explanation in psychology, which is something called symbolic interactionism. Symbolic interactionism is the use of symbols and language to create and interpret meaning in social interactions, shaping behaviors and attitudes. So the red string is already known by a lot of people, and a lot of people already see the red string and they already know in their mind this is for the protection of people from the evil eye. So we already have a meaning to that symbol, right? So it's symbolic interactionism. So we already have that. It shapes our behavior. It shapes our way of thinking about the restraint because we associate that with protection against the evil eye. And this is across cultures, right? I work with people from different backgrounds, and they're those that are wearing, the red string in different ways, the fashionable one or the simple one and things like that. They all believe the same thing, that is to protect from the evil eye. Okay? Now, let's go to the spiritual psychology. We're going to be talking about three things in here: color, action, and geometry. Okay? So, the color is red, right? The gematria of Adam in Hebrew is 45. And 45, it's the 4 and the 5, right? 40 is mem and 5 is hey. Give us the word ma, and ma is bina. It's one of the parts of thing, absag, ma, and bon. And when I say bina, you go like, but it says it actually should be seramping, right? You're gonna see why I put bina, but it's seramping and it's manifested in the 7 knots in the bottom. Action time of time, the 7 knots. The gematria is ain, right, in Hebrew, which is 70. And this is the thing: 7 knots is 7 sefirot times 10, and these 7 sefirot times 10 give you 70, and 70 is the gematria of I or Ain. Okay, so 7, Ma, Adam, they're correlated, is seramping. But I put Bina for a reason, because I'm going to show you why Bina has something to do with this. Because you got Bina is actually Sag, not Ma, but I put Bina there because Bina gives to seramping, and seramping will give to Mahud. And this is where the symbol, the geometry of the circle, because wrapping this around your wrist creates a circle. The gematria is Ma'agol, meaning circle, is in Hebrew it's 103, and this is the same gematria for the word Canaan, to guard, and also to tend a garden, like gardener. Okay, so which garden are you tending? Your internal garden, right? Your internal self. So you have here the numbers: 103 from the word Mahagal, 70 from the word Ain, and 45 from the Parsuf Ma, which is Seramping, associated with Bina, and that equals 218. Okay, now 218, you add the 2, the 1, and 8, and that will give you 11. And 11 is actually associated with something very important: the unholy 11, and also the 11 ingredients of the incense to correct this 11 unholy. The unholy 11 is the 11 crowns of forces of impurity from Tumah. This can be rectified by the 11 ingredients of the incense, which was offered daily in the holy temple in Jerusalem. In a person's personal service of God, these forces can be rectified by making sure to have only positive thoughts in one mind. So this is something that you're going to see in the meditation when you're tying this red string around your wrist. You're going to have this mind of not, talking lashon hara or thinking evil thoughts, right? That's the incense in your inner temple. These positive thoughts bring about a spiritual good smell, as did the incense. They're influenced by positive speech, right? So lashon hara, no lashon hara, and this will help you. Mindless speech brings about foreign and negative thoughts. So, okay. So we have the 11 spices of the holy incense, and there's a meditation that we do every day, those of us that do the prayers every day in the morning. And there's something called Pitun HaKetoret. And you find this in the Siddur, the prayer, the book of prayer of Judaism. And in there you're going to find a meditation to Ketoret, where the Ketoret comes from, in the Torah, what the sages' opinion was about that. And then there's a prayer for salvation, and the three psalms, that are said, and the Ashtashiater is recited at the end, and this is basically something that we do every day. I recommend that you think about these 11 spices, and while reciting, while reciting this, and also think about the red string in your hand when you're reciting this in the morning. That will help you remember that the red string, the symbolism behind it, has to do with your lashon hara, the way you're thinking, because that's the evil eye. The evil eye is not an eye that looks; it's an eye of judgment that you have. An eye of judgment means your mindset of judgment, your mindset of limitations, your mindset of thinking things that do not open the gates of the light, but closes the gates of light and the flow of the light into our lives. There's also, a tradition in which, the whole thing is recited in Hebrew, right? The whole Ketoret meditation is recited. And Ketoret comes from the word Keter, which means connection or knot in Aramaic. And this is not Keter like the Sephira, even though it's related somehow. If we study, a little deeper the incense. But let's go to the color red. So red in Hebrew is Adam. Adam is related to the word Adam, which is the name of the first man in the Garden of Eden. And Adam comes from the ground, right, which is Adamah. And Adam has something called dam, which is blood. So when you really look at it, Adam has an aleph, so it means God in the blood of Adam gives life, right? So the red string is basically telling us that the red color does not represent only protection, it represents also life, okay? Adama actually means, like it's like domain, it means, like the creator, similar to the creator. Adam, that's what it is, so when we look at that, we need to be similar to the creator. We look at the red color, we need to be similar to the creator, good that does good, okay? And that's what the red color symbolizes. That's how the real protection is, thinking that way, not with judgment but with mercy. And that's the reason we tie the red string in our left hand that represents judgment. But also there's a reason we tie it on our left hand, right? Because our left hand is a hand that receives. The left hand doesn't take. If he takes, it's judgment. But when he receives, it's working together with the right hand and form this complete system of justice and mercy instead of severity, right? So think about that as we go here. Now, the action, right? We went from the color now to the action of tying the 7 knots. So when we're doing this, basically we need to think that we are binding our own evil inclination. It creates a sense of meaning and purpose. This ritual can help individuals to feel a sense of connection to something larger than themselves, can provide a sense of purpose and direction, and may help individuals to feel more grounded and centered. Can also provide an outlet for expressing and processing emotions, and may help individuals to feel more calm and centered. Why? Because you're feeling that you're doing something that is going to help you change yourself. When I say it's change yourself, it's change your mindset. It facilitates cognitive processing. Rituals can provide a framework for understanding and processing complex ideas or experiences, in this case, the idea of the evil eye. Creates a sense of control. Rituals can provide a sense of structure and predictability, which can be reassuring for individuals who feel overwhelmed or uncertain. By participating in a ritual, individuals may feel a sense of control over their environment and their own experience. So this it will help you feel that you're under the control of the evil inclination in you, and also that you are having something in return, basically that you are participating in something that will give you something in exchange, which is the protection, okay? The protection. Now let's go to the geometry. The geometry of the red string is a circle. A circle is often used as a symbol of unity, completeness, and wholeness, as it has no beginning or end and encompasses all within it. This can represent the interconnectedness of all things and the cyclical nature of life. Now, this part is very important. Sacred space. A circle is often used to create a sacred space for rituals and meditation, as it can represent a boundary that separates the sacred from the profane. So when you put this string on you, do not think that is a string that is going to protect you, but symbolically represents that you're putting this protection around yourself, kind of like an aura, right? Around yourself that will separate the holy, which is you, from the secular, which is the influences from outside that will probably feed this evil inclination, this Satan that we have inside, right? This egoistic nature that we need to control. Also, the circle can be used as a symbol of protection, as it can create a boundary that keeps our negative energies and forces, keeps out negative energies and forces. It can also represent inclusion and equality, as all within the circle are seen as equal and connected. The circle, it's a geometric form that has no weak point, right? If you have a square, every corner is weak, but the circle, every point around the circle has the same strength. There's no weak point. So that's why the circle is so important, and is used in different cultures as a type of protection when they're performing rituals. The circle can represent the timeless and eternal nature of the universe, and it has no beginning or end and encompasses all within it. This can also represent the cyclical nature of time and the concept of birth, rebirth, and reincarnation. Now, the circle can represent movement, flow, and energy. This is related to the blood. The blood needs to move, it needs to flow, right? It suggests a continuous cycle of growth, expansion, and contraction, like our heart. So, where there's blood, there's life. Remember about the color red. The color red represents Adam. What is Adam? Adam is God in the blood. God in us. So we need to be like God. We need to build this internal environment within ourselves and protect it by what? By thinking positive, by controlling our tongue, by not speaking, lashon hara, the evil tongue. Okay. Now, what are the instructions to put on a red string? And you're gonna see different versions of this. I'm just gonna go with the universal one, which you're gonna find in most of the Kabbalah red string stores that sell you, the red string. First thing that I'm gonna say is you can buy the Kabbalah thread or use your own. It's up to you. Okay, you don't have to spend lots of money on something like this, unless you want the one that is wrapped around the burial side of Rachel. You can do that, or you can buy something like this. You can make your own, or you can buy the one that is the fashionable one that people buy, because of fashion, right? That one that looks like a talisman or something like that. But that's the thing. It's up to you what you want to do, because at the end, it's all in the mind, right? Then the second step, if you buy them, they may come already cut. If you cut your own, cut it around 9 to 10 inches, depending, how big is your wrist, right? So you're going to cut them around that. It might be 11 inches or 12, but I suggest 9 to 10 inches. Now, the next step is hold the bracelet with your left hand. According to Kabbalah tradition, the left side of the body is associated with receiving energy and blessings. So you're going to put the bracelet around your left wrist because of that. And also because the left hand also represents the evil inclination, so you are tying down these evil thoughts. And that's why it says, that it is important to have a person who loves you and who loves you back, a person who you love and a person who loves you back, to wrap the bracelet around your wrist. Begin by wrapping the bracelet around your wrist, starting with the end with a knot. The bracelet should be snug but not too tight, right? Once you have that first knot, then repeat the knot 6 more times. This will give you a total of 7 knots. Very important to have that, right? 7 knots, the symbolism. And as you do this, meditate the color red. Meditate on the 7 knots. Color red, Adam, is associated with Seramping, which is Ma, right? It's associated also with Bina because Bina gives the light to Seramping, and Seramping is going to give it to Mahut, right? So to activate the psychological and spiritual power of the threat, concentrate on the intention not to harm others by using the evil tongue, Lashon Hara. Then listen attentively as the person making the knots finishes with a Bempora prayer. So this person is going to make a prayer that is going to come with the thread if you buy it, or you can find it on the internet and print it. It's a Bempora prayer. And you can say the prayer, or in my case, I say a different prayer. It's the Bempora prayer, but it's from the verse of Genesis 49, verses 22 and 26, where it says, Joseph is a fruitful bog, a fruitful bog by a well. His branches run over the wall. The archers have surely grieved him and shot at him and hated him, but his bow abode in strength, and the arm of his hand were made strong by the hands of the mighty God of Jacob. From thence is the shepherd, the stone of Israel. Even by the God of thy father who shall help thee, and by the Almighty who shall bless thee, with blessings of heaven above, blessings of the deep that lieth under, blessings from the breast and of the womb. The blessings of thy father have prevailed above the blessings of my progenitors unto the utmost bound of the everlasting hills. They shall be on the head of Joseph, and on the crown of the head of him that was separate from his brethren. Right, so the prayer is often recited as a form of protection and blessing, seeking the same protection and blessing that were bestowed upon Joseph by God in the biblical story. So that's where it comes from, right? Genesis, the blessing to Joseph. And this is why you're going to see also that, like in the Hamza, you're going to have the fish representing Manasseh and Ephraim, the two sons of Joseph. Also, after you tie the 7 knots and recite the Bempora prayer, this prayer or the one that comes with the thread that you bought, you should meditate on the name number 10 of the 72 names of God. The name is Aladia, which means divine grace. And if you get the book Practical Guide to the 72 Names of God, there's some meditation, how to meditate in this name using Yehud and an Ibur. But this name is associated, for protection against the evil eye. The evil eye from us and evil eye from others. Because, like I said, the evil eye is mostly us. It's the way we think, the way we allow others to influence us. And influence us in a way that will stop, the shefa, the fluidity of our lives, the fluidity of light in our vessels. Now, I'm putting this here, you can stop the video to read it. I'm not going to read the whole thing, right? But this is traditionally in the Sephardic Siddur. There's a prayer against the evil eye, so kind of like what they call segula. And it's this prayer is made in order to whisper to the evil eye, in order to put the evil eye away. So it talks about all the kinds of eyes in here, and it says, I swear to you all kinds of evil eye, whether it is blue eye, green eye, brown eye, round eye, etc., etc. It mentions all the different eyes that can create harm, and this is, in the Sephardic tradition. I'm not gonna read it, like I said, just put it there. You can pause the video and read it. It mentions all kinds of eye, but it's there. Now, to finish, should we go with the red or should we go with the blue? This sounds, like the blue pill, the red pill, right? Famous blue pill, red pill. We got an evil eye that is red and a lucky eye that is blue. The zohar states that if someone looks at you with an evil eye, look at something the color techelet, meaning the blue, and the evil eye will have no power over you. Why is that? When a person look at you the wrong way or say something that is negative against you, uh, you look at something blue, which signifies the Sephirah Chesed, and that will give you already, some kind of protection because your mindset is gonna change by saying, I am protected. I am not gonna think bad back at that person, and I'm not gonna become, the person is basically using the evil eye, the evil thoughts, the lashon hara. I'm not gonna do the same thing. I'm not gonna use think bad about this person. I'm not gonna use the lashon hara. I'm not gonna do I'm not gonna do that. And what I'm going to do is I'm gonna think about, may the Creator give you a lot of light so you can see the path ahead, so you're not confused. That should be the prayer when someone does bad to you, when someone says something bad to you, when someone is looking at you the wrong way with jealousy and things like that. Bless them with the light, okay? And you don't necessarily have to look at something blue. Just picture in your mind the color blue, the color of mercy, chesed. So red or blue, both of them, depending on what you prefer. You can put the red string, you can put a blue string. Whether you want protection or you want to feel lucky, it's up to you, right? It's basically the same thing. At the end, both colors are the same, have the same kind of mission to help us change our mindset, to help us remember that we are protected not by physical things but by spiritual forces. But those forces cannot protect us, cannot help us if we don't have the proper mindset. Our brain is our antenna, right? This antenna needs to be synchronized to that vibration so we can connect to it and bring down that shefa, that flow of energy in our lives, right? So the evil eye is some kind of different vibration that will make you tune to a different channel, if you will. And that channel is not the right channel. It's a channel of tuma, the channel of impurity. So always tune into the right channel, which is a channel of what the Creator wants to give us. The channel of receiving properly, not taking things, receiving from the Creator, receiving and using it for the good and do good with it, okay? So I hope that this have actually helped you understand the red string, and then basically this is like in a nutshell. Believe it or not, there's much more that we can talk about if we go deeper into the anthropology and deeper into the techelet as well. The techelet, like the tzitzit is supposed to have a blue string for the same reasons as the red string, to remind you, of the mercy of the Creator and all that, basically of heaven and all that. So just think about that. I hope this has actually helped you. When you put the red string, you choose what you're gonna do. If you want the red string, that they sell out there, that came from Rachel's burial site, or if you want to buy your own, the most important thing is, how are you putting this thing on, and what are you thinking when you're putting it on? Is your intention that actually matters here? It's not the string. The string has no power. The string itself is just a physical thing. The action that we're performing by putting this string on is also a physical action, and it's not a spiritual action if we don't put the right intention into it, right? So it's up to you. You choose what you want to do. But at the end, the restraint power comes from our mind, comes from our mindset, from our intention. So I hope you have found this lesson interesting. As always, make sure that you like, subscribe, and share. And if you have any question, you can send it to www.receivingtheupperlight.com. This slides are gonna be in a PDF file on that website for you to use as reference if you want to see this video once again, and write notes as you study, as we study together. Okay, until then, shalom. Thank you for being in this lesson, and I'll see you later.